Well, good morning, everyone. My name is MightyStream, and I am going to do your May the 17th spiritual principle day in a meditation. I hope you're having a wonderful morning. The other meditation was powerful. If you haven't listened to it, make sure you go over to it and listen to the just for today for May 17th. Now, I'm going to share the screen so we can get into the spiritual principle day meditation for the same day. It is entitled Love for Unity's Sake. That should be pretty good. Let's read that. If you need to reach me, feel free to do so at recoveryofhope21@gmail.com. Make sure I get that in there for you, okay? It says unity depends on our willingness to keep coming from love, even when that seems like the hardest thing to do. Guiding principles, tradition two, spiritual principles. Oh, this one is a double barrel. Oh, man. Okay. Let's see what it says. Why is coming from love so difficult sometimes? Practicing the principle of unity in all our affairs and coming from a place of love while doing it so often seems to require superhuman powers. Sometimes coming from love is hard because a friend has truly wronged us or hurt someone else we love. Or maybe it's the member who stole money from the group, or the one who gossips constantly, or a newcomer from a treatment program uses language from another fellowship. Or at dinner after the meeting, that guy is chewing with his mouth open again. At other times, coming from love is a challenge because we know we are right. Yet our group's conscience runs counter to this disputable fact. There's no way in heck that our collective higher power is being expressed through that ridiculous decision. We want to throw a chair across the room or break down in tears of frustration. Clearly, coming from love may not be our first reaction to most any distraction. The good news is that we're teachable. We can learn to empathize with others, to trust group conscience, and to let go of our desires to control everyone and everything. The more we're able to absorb this lesson and practice unconditional love, the more relief we experience from our anger and self-righteousness. Tradition 2 reminds us that the group's conscience is expressed through a loving higher power. To support this ideal, we heard members say, we are acting out of either love or fear. Maybe it's not always quite that simple, but as we grow, we come to understand how critical unity is to our own recovery, and we become willing to examine whether a chosen action squares with spiritual principles. Even at an emotional breaking point, it is possible to ask myself, am I coming from a place of love? Today, I will take a moment to breathe before opening my mouth, clicking send, or throwing a chair. Let's take a moment of silence followed by the wee version of the Serenity Prayer. Thank you. God, grant us the serenity to accept the things that we cannot change, the courage to change the things that we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Just for today, please and thank you. Marvelous meditation, making sure that our unity, right? Our unity is operative from love, right? In a general love, agape love, right? And so as we come come through life and things come up, our first reaction sometimes is not, oh, let me be kind and loving in this situation. Now, if it's your first thought, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. I mean, then this isn't something that you maybe need to focus on. Maybe there's some other areas that you need to focus on. But in regards to being able to handle conflict and having the emotional intelligence of being able to apply a spiritual principle of love in every situation takes practice. How else will you develop the muscle for it unless you begin to lift heavier situations that come up with love? Practicing, developing that muscle, and oftentimes using the ideal of bodybuilding. The muscle has to be torn down a bit so that it can repair itself to its initial stage, but also say, okay, you want to try to break me down? I'm going to build this muscle up even stronger. And we do that. And before we know it, something else comes up. And now the muscle is built up for that. It's almost like muscle memory. We apply love because we've built that muscle up of love to handle situations. Does that mean that you apply it second nature every time? Absolutely not. It takes time to build it. And just as it takes time to build it, it also takes time for situations life to happen. I don't need a lot of faith for certain things that go on in my house, right? My house runs pretty smoothly. I don't need faith for a lot of things that go on in my house, in my house. However, I might need faith for interacting with the school system, interacting with the government, interacting with employment, people at the job. I might need a little bit more faith to handle those situations, right? To move in those situations positively. It's the same thing with love. I don't struggle operating from a place of love in my home. I do struggle operating in a place of love with bad service out in public. Customer service that is not what I consider proper or an attraction to pull the customer back to your agency, that bothers me. Now, that can come from having this degree in um, organizational management. It might come from that, but it doesn't matter. What matters is that I know for a fact that operating out of a place of love in certain situations is a challenge for me. So when I'm out in public, if I am having a meal and I don't appreciate how the waitress is responding or forgetting the things that we're requesting, somebody might mention a tip and I'll look at them like, huh? I think in this situation, you take a penny and put it under glass. But operating out of a place of love, I know that they need to make money and provide for their home, and these tips are split, and that this is a part of their wage, which is ridiculous to me. But so out of a place of love, I go ahead and figure out the percentage of the bill. And I probably, being petty, don't do anything more than that percentage. And I leave it on the table. That's just a simple example where I've trained this muscle of love to operate in uncomfortable situations because my natural instinct is not to be loving in that. Now let's talk about service. when you're dealing with people that have straight up attitudes about doing service, yet they keep doing it. That you're not an attraction, you're angry, but you volunteer to do it. But you have an attitude when you do it. Don't do it. It's hard to be loving in service. It's hard to operate out of a place of love just doing service sometimes when your life is jacked up, when you're hanging out with people outside of the fellowship or maybe in the fellowship, and they have something that causes you to be triggered constantly to use because they're not as serious about this thing called recovery as you are. It's hard. I know from my own experience. To operate out of a place of love during service? Whew, this is a double barrel. This one is loaded. I'm going to give it about a 3-star. This one is loaded, right? When they make a decision, the group conscious makes a decision that I don't like. I don't have to throw a chair. I'm glad they wrote that in there because that totally would be me about somebody's share, maybe that I don't appreciate, right? So we have work to do. I have work to do. Coming from a place of love is difficult, but it is doable. But it's, as it says here, we're teachable, right? But that comes with situations coming up. Like I said, building muscle takes time. Tearing it down takes time. You can't be in the gym every day and working your biceps. You have to give them an opportunity to rest. You want Arnold Schwarzenegger guns? You got to do Arnold Schwarzenegger work. But it takes time, right? We don't get to take hormones and make our muscles grow supernaturally overnight. No, 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 no. We're not doing that. We're getting in there in the gym of life and allowing things to come up, life on its own terms, and responding out of a place of love as much as possible. And if we fail to do so, we take note, make the necessary amends or whatever. And then when it comes back up, we try it again. My name is MightyStream. I've enjoyed talking to you. I have such a full day today. It's going to be a beautiful day. I hope that you will have a beautiful day on purpose. Talk to you soon.